So this will be a two-part webinar. The first half will be an interview with Laura Lindsley, who is a child welfare professional. She's been working in foster care for 11 years and also an adoptive mother of a teenager. And then the second part, we will just be diving in a little bit more into the growth and development aspect. So that will just be more informational. So, and then at the end, about the last 10 minutes, I will post your quiz link and we will be good to go.
Hello, everyone. I'm Laura Lindsley, and I'm really excited to be here today to share a little bit about child development, specifically in our teenagers. So let's jump right into child development stages and why that's even important. Knowing the normal childhood developmental stages helps you plan and prepare for what is coming next. It helps you support your child in their growth and development for where they currently are, and helps you set goals for where they are going. For example, you wouldn't teach an infant how to read before they can talk. In fact, this is really true for most stages of development. A child cannot move on to the next stage or task until they've mastered where they are. If not, it creates an unmet need in their social and physical development, but we're going to talk about an unmet need in a little bit. So when you look up child developmental stages, usually those charts stop around 8 to 10 years old. Well, in my opinion, after that is when it actually starts to get challenging, which I found pretty ironic that they stopped making the charts at that stage. So teenagers are a really weird stage of development, and I think it's okay to say that. They usually act pretty weird. Most of the time, their behavior is, in fact, unpleasant. Their bodies are telling them to act one way. Their brains are telling them to act another way. Their hearts and emotions and hormones are telling them something else. And then there's us as their parents telling them to do something completely different. So I think it's important to remember that teenagers are simply children in transition. They are not young adults. Their needs, including their emotional needs, are those of children. It is a very common mistake that a lot of people make, including myself, to consider them junior adults. So for example, let's look at an 8-year-old little girl. Her needs include being taken care of, food, shelter, clothing, a feeling of safety and security, which is knowing someone really cares no matter what happens, and being loved and truly accepted. So if those are the needs of an 8-year-old girl, well, y'all, those are the same needs and things that a teenager needs. Most teens are described as the apathetic generation, but really beneath that surface is anger and confusion. These kids are just trying to figure out who they are and what this big world and their future holds for them. So when we treat our teenagers like junior adults, they just simply aren't ready and actually able to handle that level of responsibility. And that is where a lot of our issues come from in raising teens. Now, y'all are probably wondering, who is this lady and why is she talking about normal childhood developments? Because my teenager isn't normal. They have experienced trauma from years of abuse and neglect. My teenager is in foster care. Y'all, I get it. I have been working in foster care for almost 11 years. Probably some of you watching this, I have licensed. Hopefully, I have served as an encouragement to some of you along the way. I have had a lot of teens in my care while my husband and I were house parents in a group home. This is not a job for me. This is not a career I step into. This is my life. Recently, my husband and I were honored to have the opportunity to adopt our daughter when she was 17 years old. She moved into our house as a 16-year-old. She's currently 18. So all of this does not make me a professional or a perfect parent, but I have just had a lot of trial and error. My husband and I have had a lot of people pour into us As a married couple and as parents, we have had a lot of people who have guided our children and helped to say the really hard things that we didn't always want to hear. So today, I hope this training really serves mostly as an encouragement to your spirits and lifts you up as parents. I hope that this training adds tools to your tool belt and gives you something practical to walk away with. The very first thing another foster parent told me when he found out we were taking in a teenager is to set low expectations, but encourage and praise greatness. Well, for those of you that know me, I am very, very task and goal driven. If you give me a to-do list, we will get those boxes checked off. So low expectations is really flipping that idea upside down for me. But he was right. Your child may not ever make the honor roll. But if they can graduate high school without a pregnancy, then that is a huge milestone in today's society, especially given that your child comes from trauma. Your teenager may never learn how to save money or have more than $3 in their possession after payday. But if they're going to work and learning that hard work equals financial reward, then that is something to be celebrated too. Whatever your child struggles with, find the positive attribute to it. Maybe your teenager is mean or bossy, like mine. First, this is probably a coping skill that they have learned to keep people at a distance so that they don't get hurt. But that mean or bossy teen might learn how to harness and guide that quality one day and turn into a great leader. At the very minimum, they will not get bullied at school. So this piece of advice wasn't about how to raise our teenagers. It was about how to look at them differently. This advice was about us. It was about us accepting our child's abilities and acknowledging where they lack skills. So the next thing that we had a family tell us was to pick your battles, which I found very annoying. And this is probably a struggle for most parents because we want our children to make the right choices and not be idiots. And that's a solid goal for your kids to grow up to be good citizens and not be jerks. I think that is a very solid parenting goal. But more importantly, our children really need to learn how to fail and get back up to overcome that challenge to solve it on their own. And it is much better for them to be failures in our home than when they're in the big world out there. The consequences of being a failure in the world are a lot bigger than being a failure in our home. The flip side of this is that our own mental and emotional capacity cannot continue to battle with our teenagers over every choice they make. Most of the time, our teens don't actually know what they want or need because their developmental age, biological age, common sense age, survival age are all in conflict with each other due to their trauma. My teenager is biologically 18 years old, but she has the survival instincts of a 35-year-old Navy SEAL while really lacking in the common sense department. You can imagine how making decisions in her world is very conflicted. When she moved in with us, I chose to do all the laundry for our family, including hers. It was a way that I serve and love my husband and my children, so it made sense for me to do that for her too. I would spend the majority of my weekend washing and drying and folding all the clothes. All they had to do was come and pick it up and put it away. Well, my teenager would come and get all of her things and put them away, but I kept noticing that her dresser drawers were just stuffed full with all the clothes that I spent countless hours tediously folding for her. Well, I was so insulted and I felt so disrespected over this. We battled over this for at least a year. In our house, we actually titled this the Battle of the Laundry. So one day I was telling someone about the Battle of the Laundry, and she told me to pick my battles and that this was a losing battle for me. Frankly, I was annoyed. So now I wash and dry her clothes still as a loving service to her, and so she doesn't break my washing machine. But I fold everyone else's clothes and just pile hers in a basket, and then she can shove them in her dresser like before. When I told her that I was no longer going to fold her clothes for her because of the way I felt over the state of her dresser, she simply said, okay. The battle was over, and honestly, I think we both won. The whole thing was a complete waste of time and energy, and it was a strain on our relationship because I viewed the way she treated her folded laundry as disrespect, but she just looked at them as they were clothes. So she didn't even know she was hurting me in that way. Our relationship was being held completely hostage to my own emotional state regarding some laundry. But it took me realizing that it really wasn't that important what her dresser looked like for me to get over it. So pick your battles. The important ones are worth sticking it out for, but I promise you they aren't all important. Take a step back and think, what is actually the worst thing that will happen if I allow my teenager to continue this behavior? In my situation, the worst that could happen would be that my child will always live in a messy house. Well, as my husband pointed out to me, eventually it won't be my house, and she will keep a messy house and as an adult, and that is her burden to bear. So, we once had a teen in our home who was really neglected through most of her childhood. She was the oldest in our care at the time, and every day after we put all of our younger children to bed, she would ask to sit with me on the porch swing. Some nights I had a million things to do and to finish up, but I found that once I was really consistent with our time together, she really only needed 10 to 15 minutes of one-on-one time with me. But when it first started, it seemed like she wanted to sit there for hours. Some days she would ask me to read to her, and she often picked a book that was much younger than her reading level. But it became very clear to me that she had never been read to or rocked as a child. She had that unmet need in her, and she didn't even know it. So we sat and read every night on that porch. When she left our care after 9 months, she told me that when she has children, she promised to rock her babies to sleep and to read to them just like I did. That is what she felt like was most important while in our care. I realized then that even though we tell our children that we love them every day, they don't get it. We have to show them that we love them. That is because children are not verbally oriented. They are behaviorally oriented. Adults are the ones that are verbally oriented. This is another reason why we shouldn't treat our teenagers like adults. They aren't ready to just be told something. They have to be shown how we feel. They need focused attention. They need to be the one who gets one-on-one time doing something together with your child. If your teen likes baseball, then take them to the batting cages and make a fool of yourself. I promise they will smile and laugh. Maybe they're laughing at you at first, but it will be worth it to build your relationship in the end. Focused attention is a way that we show our children that they are a top priority. Now, I get it. We all have a lot of obligations and responsibilities, but when we're at work and you have a to-do list that is 12 pages long, you pick the most important things and you do those things first. You have to prioritize your home life obligations in the same way. What is the most important things in our lives? The most important thing in our marriage, the most important thing in our family? It is our children. So time with them needs to be a priority. Without focused attention, teenagers can experience increased anxiety and a sense of self-worthlessness because they feel as if everyone or everything is more important than they are. How they view themselves is a direct correlation of how we prioritize them. So let me say that again. How they view themselves is a direct correlation of how we prioritize them. So I'm going to add this in, and it might not be the most popular opinion, but this time with them should probably be spent without a cell phone or a screen around as a distraction. If our teenagers see us on the phone all the time, then that is what they will model. I work 45 to 50 hours a week and I help run a small business, but I have personally made it a priority for me and my children that they never see me on my phone. It's really a secret challenge that I gave myself about a year ago, and it hasn't always been easy, but it has been very rewarding. It is possible, and I have seen huge changes in my children's behavior since they stopped seeing me on my phone all the time. Cell phones and social media and our children, they have a whole load of issues that our teens are struggling with every day. It is definitely worth your time to invest in some training and some skills and figure out what the apps are that your children have on their phone. So if you see a training on social media or technology, I would highly recommend it. The last two things were taught to me by a precious woman who you probably all know, and I will always look up to her as a ministry leader, mother, and friend. She taught me to be slow to speak and quick to listen in all situations. Honestly, as a Christian, this is a good practice at all times. This practice will probably help your marriage, but it will really help your relationship with your teenager. So often I want to jump in and fix my daughter's struggles and tell her what to do, or that her friends are losers, or that her heartache from her recent love breakup won't last forever. But that is really not what she needs from me. She just needs me to listen and to say nothing, and that I'm right there with her. Our own need to fix our children's problems most likely comes from our own savior mentality. Y'all, we are not the savior. It is not our job to save our children. It is our job to point them to the Savior. It is our job to be an example of Christ to them so that they can see the Savior in action through our love for them. So this brings me to my last thought for the day. We have to remember that our children are not case files. They have a file at the DSS office or even at your house if you're super organized, but they are not their file. They are not defined by their past. They are not defined by their trauma or what the world says about them. They are human beings. Each of our children were created in God's image for a purpose. They each have different skills and talents that make them unique and gifted. We as parents have different gifts and talents too. We are also human beings that are going to mess up, and it's okay. Y'all, we are going to be on the struggle bus some days. In fact, some of us will be driving that struggle bus at least 4 days a week. But if we can learn to parent our children with grace and mercy, then not only will our days be easier and filled with less of a battle, but our children will also learn to have grace and mercy with others and themselves. They will also see God's love and grace through our example. And isn't that really the greatest lesson we can teach our children? If we can teach them how to love like Jesus, then that is the greatest accomplishment in parenting. I hope that these lessons have been an encouragement to you and to your family. I personally would recommend this book, How to Really Love Your Teen. It is written by a medical doctor, but from a Christian worldview, which I find very practical and actually very helpful. He does not speak in a bunch of theoretical ideas or practices. He is very, very practical. It's not all this cloud thinking. It's very much what can you put into place today. As always, if you have any follow-up questions, please reach out to Miracle Hill or to your care coordinator. These guys are here to serve you and to walk alongside you as you minister in your home to these children. They can't help you fill in the gap if they do not know where the gap is. It is not a failure to ask for help, advice, or resources, so let them know if you need something. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Let's talk a little bit more about child growth and development during the teen years. So we're going to get much more into what's going on emotionally, but we also have to acknowledge that during the teen years, children are still going through puberty, and that's really difficult on them. Everything about their bodies is changing. So though we're going to be focusing on other things, we do need to acknowledge that that is a big deal for them and for you as parents, helping them navigate through. During the ages of, between 13 and 18, they will begin to develop the ability to think abstractly. I'm going to try not to get tongue-tied this whole time. And concerned with philosophy, politics, and social issues. We're especially seeing that, this year, being at home more, we're just seeing more on social media, and there has been so much going on with social issues and politics. And it's, it's a big job to help teens walk through that. And they begin to compare themselves to their peers. And of course, we know, we'll talk about this a bit at the end, that the addition of social media is making that even more difficult because it's in their face. It's, they've got it in their hand, comparing themselves to others all day, every day. It's also important for them to set goals and think long term. So they'll start to think about what they want to do after high school. Are they planning to finish high school, et cetera, et cetera. And then, of course, peer and romantic relationships become very important. Let's talk about what you can do. This is for foster parents, but also for child welfare professionals. So it's important to make sure that young people have relationships with caring, consistent adults who can support them in resolving past experiences of loss and pain and embrace their unique strengths and capacity to overcome challenges. And these relationships, they don't just have to be, it doesn't have to be only you. This could be adult friends, a friend you have in a church group that you trust, that your teen relates to. That could be a good resource. Or just a family friend that you trust. Or a mentor. At least weekly, talk to adolescents or teens about causes of stress. That's just as or more important than educating them about the harms of substances or risky behavior they may rely on to cope with stress and difficult emotions. I'm totally on board with this, because if they don't know how to cope with stress, even small stressors, as they grow and as they're out in the world without you there to guide them, they may turn to really, difficult coping mechanisms. We don't want that for them. So teaching them how to manage that early on is going to really help outcomes later on in life. Remember to communicate with words, facial expressions, and tone of voice grounded in unconditional regard, respect, acceptance, and support. You've got to be careful. And this is for social workers too, when a teen says something kind of shocking, not to show it in your face, and to be supportive and accepting and help guide them. We can remember to slow down, make the time and emotional space to help young people deal with rejection, discouragement, or failure. Just like Lindsay spoke about earlier, a teen she had in her home who just wanted to sit with her and be read to. That's an example of just needing to slow down. They may have missed some getting tongue-tied again, developmental milestones, and you just need to go back and treat them as if they were a younger child. Slow down with them. Spend that time. Once feelings have been heard and acknowledged, practice helping young people reframe their experiences and describe how they might channel their feelings and the lessons they've learned. Encourage them to develop empathy and consider how others experience the world. We touched on this a good bit when we went through the webinar on the whole brain child. If you want more information on how practically to do that, that's a good resource for that. Or go to the library and pick that book up. Encourage young people to maintain their own healthy sleep schedule to restore their body. Consider scheduling meetings with young people in the late morning or afternoon instead of early morning. And so this would go for foster parents. That would be like appointments or anything early in the morning. It's maybe not a good plan. You know they struggle with getting up. And then for social workers, the same. We shouldn't be scheduling them for early morning meetings. In helping them to establish their own healthy sleep schedule, we'll talk a little bit more about social media and electronic usage later on, but finding a way to maybe take the phone for the night or have a lights out rule in your house, however you want to do it that works for a teen in your home. There are a bunch of different ways, whatever works for you. You can also look at the teen schedule and take a pulse check. Are all of these activities typical for a young person not growing up in foster care? I know we talk about that often, but it's important to continue checking in and making sure that that's true, that they're just like any other child. And the secondary question, are they heavily weighted to system involvement? If so, focus on adding relaxing everyday activities like learning to cook. Ice skating is not relevant in our area very much, but attending a concert or something else that child will enjoy. You can also support personal writing, which nurtures the capacity to reflect and gain insight into one's real feelings and reactions. Young people in foster care may think they have to filter their true feelings and thoughts to avoid rejection. A private journal provides a sacred place to hold and honor feelings. And we have discussed using journals to communicate with younger children, but for teens, unless they want you to read it, I would strongly advise just leaving it alone and respecting their privacy so that they know that they have a place to place those feelings. You can also consider the form of therapy that best fits the child, if any. And most of our, foster kids, by the time they get to the teen years, they are definitely in therapy or have been through years of therapy. Some young people welcome the chance to have someone to talk to, whether individually or in a support group, and others may respond better to art, dance, working with animals, music, martial arts, journaling, or doing yoga or other forms of exercise. So basically, whatever helps them calm down and feel better, great. You can also try positive self-talk. Have a young person talk themselves through the step of a difficult experience or event, and then periodically pause for a mental play-by-play narrative of what's happening. Self-talk can focus on times young people have grown and learned from mistakes or failure. This is important to go back and to replay, especially successes. You can go through failures as well, but it's important to go back and celebrate those successes and talk about how you may be able to have that same success again. Help them see themselves as agents of change or activists in the context of a larger human family and experience. So basically, we're all just trying to teach teens that your actions and what you say and what you do, it really does affect those around you. It's not that we're trying to say they're the center of the universe. It's just saying that you do have an impact. Every day you have an impact, and helping them to understand that they are a part of a much larger impact. Okay, so let's look at some, and I will post where you can see more from the source. Got that coming up. Okay, so 4 building blocks that can help young people develop resilience and heal from trauma. The first is validation. And every young person deserves to be heard, acknowledged, and have their feelings and perspectives respected. Number 2 is self-care. Invisible wounds need to heal, just as visible wounds do. Help young people prioritize their mental health. And we will talk more about that, so we're not going to leave you in the dark with that. Number 3, reinforcement. Help young people recognize that, getting tongue-tied, I'm so sorry. They need not be defined or confined by experiences in foster care. Number 4, mindfulness. Help young people develop healthy habits of mind to process emotions. Let's talk about the longer a child has experienced trauma, they begin to completely rely on survival mode, and it can really compromise how their brain functions. So this would affect things like emotional regulation, impulse control, flexibility, and that's just being, flexible when something changes. It doesn't completely rock your world. Organization, planning ahead, and critical thinking. These can all be compromised just by experiencing trauma. And with that, that's something that can be difficult to remember because we have expectations of teens. With the age that they are, they should be able to do this, this, and this. But we forget sometimes that what these children have experienced can change that, can morph that. And they may not be able to do much, if any, of what's age appropriate. Okay. Talk a little bit about mindfulness, and there are some resources you can look through there. I'll try to link through. But mindfulness is about setting intentions for the quality of one's state of awareness and feelings. It's an important so sorry tonight. We read a novel earlier today, and I think I'm talked out. Anyway, as an approach, mindfulness is especially nimble and doesn't depend on a young person having resources or a robust support system. Young people can be coached in techniques that promote being fully present and acknowledging and integrating their experiences while learning how to manage emotional reactions, all skills that will serve them well into adulthood. Mindfulness exercises in moments of stress and uncertainty can help retool and expand a young person's repertoire of coping with emotional or physical reactionary impulses. Help them focus on activities aimed at integrating the mind, body, and spirit, which can retrain the nervous system to operate and respond in more calm, constructive, and reflective ways. Everyday practices like deep breathing, long walks, yoga, and meditation, and other creative outlets can move young people beyond moment-by-moment survival states and toward proactive mindsets, from surviving to thriving. Okay. Let's talk about conversations. So here are some examples. You can find more, I think, is the one above? I think I've got it at the end. So there's some resources on mindfulness. And I'll get to the link to find more information on this toward the end. So when your teen says, I'm done going to all of these appointments, they're just basically saying, I want to do things on my own terms. They might mean, everyone keeps putting more and more on my plate and telling me what to do and what they think is best for me. What do I get to choose? Or, I felt hurt for so long now, I really doubt that therapy is going to make me feel better. So here's another example. Instead of responding this way, clearly you need to do something. Your behavior and attitude are out of control. I can't handle it anymore. A caring adult can say, you've been through a lot of things that a young person should not have to go through, and you deserve a chance to be heard and heal. If you thought about activities that you might be interested in exploring, what comes to mind? Or, you deserve an opportunity to express yourself and maybe even get some things off your chest in a way that works for you. On a scale of 1 to 5, where 1 is no way and 5 is willing to give it a go, what number would you give yoga, riding, running, etc.? What would you need to give it a go? And some ways that you can help them decompress would be to go for a hike, which is awesome in our area. We have great places to hike. Photograph local wildlife, insects, trees, or flowers. Swim at a local pool or rec center. Watch a nature documentary. Depends on the child, right? Hang out with the animals at the local zoo. Run some short distances or train for a marathon. Or take in an audiobook or playlist outdoors. And gardening. So I think you get the theme on that is if you can, get outside and get moving. So here is the resource to find way more information on all of that. It's very, very in-depth. Okay. Let's talk about online threats for teens. Not fun, but it's something we need to discuss. Cyberbullying. Whew. And right now, our teens, most are in person for school all the way, but they're just on the computer all the time for school, for fun, or on the phone. And so there's a real risk for cyberbullying. And as adults, sometimes we don't catch it. Young people have a long history of picking on one another, but today the taunts and abuse don't stop at the high school's doors. Social media, email, texting, and instant messaging can invade your teen's world 24/7. Sadly, there are multiple accounts where cyberbullying has led to suicide. So we need to take it seriously. And one none of us feel prepared for, sexting. Whether it's sending or receiving photos, it can lead to a lot of trouble, depending on how far it goes and whether or not they swapped pictures. It can result in consequences ranging from severe reputation damage to child pornography charges. And one thing to mention to our teens, some of them still think, like on Snapchat, for example, that once that photo goes away for them, that it's gone forever. And that's just not true. Once you've posted it, it's out there. It's really out there, and someone could get it. So that's very serious to discuss. That not just sending or receiving, pictures by text. That's not entirely what this means. This includes Snapchat and other apps like that as well. Also, identity theft. Don't let them put any information out there. Be careful with credit card information. If they're going on to purchase something, make sure they do it with you. Or if they have a bank account, this is definitely something to talk about if they're already working a job. And then, of course, talk about online predators. They can pose as peers in an attempt to connect with potential victims. We know that people online aren't always the age that they say they are. So talk to your teens about not giving any personal information like their address or even their phone number to a stranger on the internet, because they may be able to track that. And we know that our teens in foster care are already at a higher risk for human trafficking. So being really aware of those online predators is really, really crucial. Okay. How can we keep our teens safe online? So first is to talk about it. Just have open communication regularly about being safe online. And it's never too late to talk to your teen about this. They may be like, oh, this is embarrassing, but it's worth talking about, and it may open up that conversation. Set up ground rules. That means to outline your expectations for online behavior, identify internet safety rules that will help protect your teen. And this can be different within every household. It is up to you and your judgment, and you know your teen and what they can and cannot handle. And you want to include things like sharing email accounts and online usernames and passwords. Make sure that you have those. When things are private, it makes it easier to sneak. And I don't even mean that they always have negative intentions, but it can make it easier for someone else online who has negative intentions to get to your child. And you want to set up the sites and apps that are off limits. Let your child know that ahead of time. These are okay, these are not. And always be checking in on that. Talk to them about never give out your full name, your address, your phone number, like I said, for the area code, and it just could be tracked. And also their social security number. Be careful not to use that. Don't let, especially strangers, don't let other people use your devices. Don't accept friend requests from strangers on social media. Don't open any sketchy looking emails. And don't click any links. If you got something from a weird number, don't open it up. We know this is as adults, but sometimes especially younger teens, they don't know that yet. And try to keep everything out in the open. That's number 3. Keep things out in the open. Store computers, laptops, tablets, and phones in a central place, especially at night, where you can monitor that activity and see what's going on. Okay. Put protections in place. You can use a parental control filter to help limit your teen's exposure to inappropriate content. This won't work for everything, but it does help just block things like pornography. They can also send you an alert if there's an activity or a keyword search that you're not comfortable with. It can send you an alert on that. And regularly also you need to check the privacy settings on your teen's devices just to make sure that they're up and running. Number 5, connect online. Stay in the know about all of your teen's social network profiles and have them add you as a friend. They're not going to like that, but it's so you can check up on what they're posting. They might like that. Depends on your teen. And always be looking for signs of trouble. We try to protect our kids, but sometimes the bad stuff gets through. No matter how safe you think your teen's internet behaviors are, it's always a good idea to keep an eye out for signs that things may not be as secure as you think. So look for things like secretive behavior, hiding screens when you enter the room, or trying to go online outside of supervision, or creating new email accounts or social network profiles. Self-harm, definitely. That could mean there's some serious cyberbullying or something else going on. They become sullen or withdrawn. It may not always be related to online activity, but it's something to check on. Or beginning to lose interest in other activities, especially if you see them kind of obsessively looking at their phone and losing interest. That may be a time to check in on what's going on. Also, if your child is displaying strong emotional responses after going online, definitely check in. This is a long one. I'll read through a couple of these. Let's end with talking about, what do teens want? What do they want from us? They just want to be understood for who they are and accepted as is. They want to feel validated in their feelings and respected for their knowledge and the things they've experienced. They want to feel supported and guided into adulthood, even though they think they know it all sometimes. If they fail, they need to know that someone will be there and make sense of their world again. Mostly, foster teens want to feel loved. Perhaps the most critical step you can take in helping your foster teen is the one that will take the most time, and that's trust building. Have patience. Do not expect teens to come to your home trusting all that you say and do. After all, they've had years of adults letting them down. Just as with all children, don't make promises to them that you're unable to keep. Once you break a promise, the trust will become further from reach. Teens want to be spoken to on a personal level. Find out what their interests are and encourage them to pursue those. Offer to help guide them in their passions. Show interest in them and their biological family who have shaped the person they are becoming. Make a big deal out of their strengths and talents. And help them research possible careers for when they graduate from high school. Inform them that dropping out of high school after coming this far would be cutting themselves short of what they are capable of achieving. And please encourage them to express their feelings and emotions to you. They will need to learn that expressing their feelings is natural and healthy instead of keeping them inside. Set rules and consequences for your household as soon as possible and assign them with responsibilities in your home. As much as they may hate it, this will allow them to feel as part of the family and give them a sense of importance and self-worth. All right. And I had one more video on cyber safety. So we'll go ahead and do that really quick.
If you're watching this right now, my powers of deduction tell me that there's about a 100% chance that you use the internet. I'm so smart. Thanks for logging on to YouTube today and checking out Wellcast. We're super glad you're here. And since you've already conveniently placed yourself online, we're going to talk to you today about internet safety. Now, wait a minute. Okay, before you roll your eyes and say, my mom told me all about internet safety already, or my surf instructor explained to me the dangers of leaving information on the internet. Just hear me out, all right? We spend a lot of time on the internet here at Wellcast, and we give pretty awesome advice. I think you'll agree. So today, we're going to give you our top 4 things that you absolutely need to know about internet safety. Are you ready? Tip 1, the internet is forever, ever, ever, ever. That was all in-house. No joke. Anything that you put on the internet, no matter how old, could be there until you have grandchildren of your own who will be Googling you. I mean, if Google is even still a thing in 40 years, who knows? Maybe Bing can make a great comeback. So what do you do? Well, start by Googling your name, your phone number, your address, just to find out what's really floating around out there. Plus, it's kind of fun. If you're on social media, and who isn't, use the strictest privacy settings out there. Tip 2, don't put personal information online. 73% of teens and 68% of young adults are on social networking sites. Of those people, roughly half post personal information, phone numbers, addresses, emails. Don't do that. If you do, it leaves you open for attacks from either cyberbullies or just some weird folks who want to take advantage of you. Do yourself a favor and ask a trusted friend what private information they can see on your sites. If you're not happy with the answer, remove it. Tip 3, don't forget about smartphone safety. In an era of smartphones, cyber safety should extend to your phone too, especially when it comes to tech safety. Remember how your parents warned you about accepting car rides from strangers? All right, don't accept phone calls or texts from strangers either. Only answer texts and phone calls from your contact list. Tip 4, handle hacking intelligently. Part of being a member of the World Wide Web is being aware that no matter how careful you are, your account may get hacked. Getting hacked sucks, but it isn't the end of the world, and there are a few important things to do when you get hacked to ensure your safety. A, change that password and make the new one secure. Make it unpredictable. According to a CBS article, password was the most popular password of 2012, followed by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. People, we can do better than this. If you're really going for all-out cyber safety, and you should, check to see if your email service provides two-step verification. It's not impossible, but that is a hard nut to crack. B, check your sent box and let any affected people know that you were spammed, especially if your account sent out a phishing link. Your friends deserve to know what's up. C, do a sweep of your computer with antivirus software. All right, odds are, not only did you send something nasty out to your friends, you might have something nasty lurking in the recesses of your hard drive. D, back up your files. If there's a virus your computer doesn't catch, you don't want to lose everything. Okay, backing up files is totally a chore, but you'll be really happy you did it. Go ahead and invest in a cheap portable hard drive and keep it somewhere safe. To recap, remember these points. 1, anything you put on the internet will be there for a very long time. Believe me, I've thought a lot about this. 2, your personal information shouldn't be visible to everybody. 3, do not accept phone calls or texts from strange numbers. And 4, if you're hacked, change your password, check the sent box, and clean off your hard drive ASAP. Well,
And it's not hard questions. It's just to make sure you attended and to get the information